Hello, friends. Welcome to LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherry.
Sherry, Beth, what episode is this?
Number 92.
The train to 100 episodes rolls down the tracks.
It does indeed.
And so this episode, we're going to talk all about trains.
Nope.
And, no, we're not. I was like, totally pull like an audible on you. And
I was like, that's not what we discussed.
We are not talking about trains. So, I don't know. Within the last couple weeks, I put something over on our Instagram story. Mm-hmm. And I asked you all, I said, what is a topic that you would like to hear Sherry and I talk about in depth? Like, with the podcast episode, fully episode dedicated to it. Yep. And you guys gave us some great answers. You guys gave us some not so great answers. Some of you know exactly who you are. But one of the episodes stood out to me. And we're going to do probably several of your ideas. Mm-hmm. But this is the one we wanted to start with. And the question was, it feels timely.
Yeah.
It was, how in the world do you get through hard times?
Yeah.
The last few years, have kind of felt like nonstop hard times for us.
Yeah, and I know that we all kind of went through a pandemic, and that was hard for everybody. And I feel like on top of the pandemic, we've had a whole bunch of other things just pelt us.
Yeah, so you obviously almost died.
Right.
Like
that was a little rough.
There was the Sherry near death. Uh-huh. That was rough. And then over the last year alone, we've had grandmother die, grandfather die, uncle, aunt, 2 cousins, maybe.
I don't know.
Multiple friends get divorced, yeah. Job changes, mm-hmm. My mom getting cancer, just like a seeming barrage of hard times.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just kind of nonstop, and I feel like just as we're barely kind of clawing our way out of one awful situation, we're hit with another one.
That's what it's felt like.
Yeah.
And we're hopeful that is a season that is coming to an end? Question mark? Hopefully.
I mean, gosh,
we hope so. But we have learned some things over the last few years.
Yeah. About
getting through hard times.
Yeah.
And so we thought, you know what, that's actually a pretty good episode because we've kind of gotten gotten good at getting through.
We've gotten good at getting through bad.
We've gotten good at getting through bad. Wow, I like that.
It's sad that we have.
It's sad that we have.
Yeah.
So we just have a few things that, as we've kind of talked about this over the last week or so, that we feel like have helped each of us individually and then us together as a couple.
Yeah.
And so, Sherry, I'm going to let you start.
Okay.
And these are both when we as individuals are going through hard times or when people who are close to us are going through hard times.
Yeah, when they're happening directly to us or to people that we love.
Love that. So for you, what in the world has helped?
I naturally am an internal processor. I tend to retreat into myself, into my safe space. Anytime there's any kind of conflict or hard thing, which I understand is not always the healthiest response. Mm-hmm. But I do, that's what I do. So I, knowing that that's not the best, course to take, I also kind of force myself to reach out to friends and family, and I have a very small kind of inner circle mm-hmm. of quote unquote like safe people in my life that I feel like I can be fully myself with.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
Woohoo.
and really just a small handful of a few other people. So when I'm going through a really hard time, I tend to kind of grab onto those relationships a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And as I'm internally processing, I'm also kind of forcing myself to externally process with these people and just kind of, I don't know, allow them to speak into my life and speak into my thoughts. And yeah.
So your natural instinct is to retreat into self, mm-hmm. but not always healthy.
Not always healthy. So I do try to not just stay there.
one of the things that we talk about in the organization that I lead, and actually just taught on this last weekend, was different circles of friends. I think it was in the 1960s. I think it was Edward Hall wrote about like these different spheres that we live in. The first one being like the intimate space, which is like 3 to 5 people, like kind of your close covenant friends, all the way out to like the crowd, like the masses. Your intimate space, your close circle, that's where you go when things get hard.
Yes. So into myself or to those 3 to 5 people. Like I really don't think that I have more than 5.
Do you think that, is that true both when what you're going through is like when you were sick and when mom was sick and all the loss? Was that true about both of those situations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
So for me, one of the things is we were talking about this, that I go to is faith. Now, sometimes faith is used as I'm going to try to be careful here. Faith is used as a weapon against people. I can't tell you how many times when Sherry was sick, we heard people give us Bible verses. Now, here's what I want to say. Most people who do that are doing it with good intentions.
I honestly do not believe that people had bad intentions, but it was the least helpful thing.
Yeah.
When I was going through something really, really hard.
And I will say that is true for most people. Like when things are really, really hard, rarely does some out of context Bible verse lobbed from a distance make things better. And so when I talk about faith, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the aspect of faith that believes that this isn't the end of the story.
Right.
Because the reality...
The inner faith.
What's
as opposed to the outer faith.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, like, for me, when I watch my mom go through cancer and I see how that story could end, I'm reminded that that's actually not the end of the story.
Right.
That's hopeful for me.
Yeah.
When I have family pass away, I'm reminded that that's not the end of the story. Even when you were at your sickest, I genuinely thought I was going to lose you. Like that's like,
right.
Statistically, I knew I was going to. And
more than 2/3 of the people.
Right. And so for me, like
don't make it.
The reminder that it's like, this sucks, but it's not the end of the story. And that's one of the things that I've actually found hope in is that, my faith has not made a single day of my mom's cancer or of your sickness easier. It's not like it's taken the pain away. It's not like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm super happy and smiling in the middle of all this hard stuff. No, it still sucks ass. Right? It's still horrible.
Yeah.
But I'm reminded that it's not the end of the story, that like it goes on.
Right.
And so that has been the aspect of faith to me that has been the most encouraging in hard times, is being able to cling to a hope that transcends this life.
Yeah.
If all I had was this life, man, I am in turmoil at the thought of losing my mom or of losing you or of the people we've lost.
Right. This is just completely the end of the story.
Yeah. But like a hope that transcends this life is the aspect of faith that really helps me get through hard times.
Yeah.
All right, Sherry Beth, what's next for you?
So I am one of the least confrontational people that I know.
Very true.
And if I can retreat at any cost, that's probably what I will do. However, when I am confronted with things that are really hard, I think that is where my stubbornness and determination is like, absolutely not. This is not going to stop me. And I don't know what that is. I don't know. I think that it depends on the situation, I guess, because I've been through hard things where I'm just like, and we're going to back off. But I've also, like, when I was so sick, I think that there was a part of me that was just like, this is not going to beat me, damn it. Like, this is not the end of my story. And I will not let it beat me. And I think that for whatever reason, those kinds of things, like, are what give me my backbone. And I don't understand why, but that's what happens. So I feel like there's an aspect of going through a hard thing that makes me not want to quit, makes me not want to give up.
Really stubborn.
Really, really stubborn. Like I am digging my heels in, and absolutely not.
And that's like, what a great thing. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a time to be stubborn, not giving up when going through a hard time is a really good one.
Right. Yeah.
And I've seen that in you. I've seen Because again, you're not confrontational, yet you have a determination when going through hard times that is not there when you are just like going through a normal Wednesday.
Right. Or watching like people that I love go through really hard times. I'm just like, nope.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like, this is not going to stop you. This is not going to stop me. Like, this is not the end of the story, like you were saying. Like, this is not it.
It's weird because it's almost like when you are going through a hard time or when somebody you love is going through a hard time, it's almost like there's an aspect of your character that comes out that is reserved for that situation.
Right.
And that's fascinating. Like, I just think that's...
Because it's really just not there otherwise. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it's like, nope, I am not going to let you give up. I am not going to give up. Mm-hmm. Like, we've got this.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Super interesting.
And I think we've talked about, like, I'm sort of a naturally pessimistic person.
Uh-huh. Yeah, your natural instinct would be like, well, guess we're all dying now.
I honestly, like, I'm naturally pessimistic, but I also feel like when faced with really hard things, I think even, like, your mom's cancer, I was just like, this isn't it. She's going to beat it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was kind of the only one who was just like, what are we so upset about? She's going to beat it. And like, I feel like that's where my determination comes in. Like, this is not it. It will not be it. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking that into the universe. Damn it! Like, yeah. And I think I don't know. I don't know what it is about me, but like when I'm faced with those really hard things, I'm just like, nope.
Yeah.
You don't get to win. Not today, Satan.
Yeah. It's true. It's so weird to watch that come out of you in those situations. I think the next thing for me, and this was helpful in... Okay, so this was helpful in Mom's situation, and I so missed it going through your situation. And that is the experience of others. So one of the things that was really lonely for me when you were sick, and part of this was that we just couldn't find out almost anything about what you had.
Right.
Like, it was such an unknown that it felt very lonely. Mm-hmm. And when Mom was sick, one of the things that I did after I came back here the first trip is I went to lunch with a friend of ours named Kim. And Kim lost her dad a number of years ago, and we got to kind of watch her go through that, and we're close with her, and so we've heard her talk about that, and we've seen what that's meant to her. And I went and had lunch with Kim and just kind of asked her, like, as somebody who has walked a parent through or to death, help. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
What does this look like for you, like, to go through this thing, because she has.
Yeah, because I don't know how to do this.
Right.
And this is the craziest thing, is that I have done so many funerals through work stuff. Mm-hmm. I have walked with so many families who have gone through really hard things. I have been in the middle of, like, other people as this has happened, but it was so different when it hit so close with you and with Mom.
Right.
And I just felt lost. And so relying on the experience of others that I could go to and just say, like, help. Now, Kim's experience and others that I talked to who lost parents, their experiences were dramatically different. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like they can say, oh, here's 10 steps, because...
Here's exactly what you do in this situation.
And that's one of the things I actually want to say before we even go on the episode. There is no right way. Right. There's no playbook for getting through hard times. Mm-hmm. What we are sharing with you are things that have worked for us, may not work for you.
Right.
Your things may be dramatically different than ours.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's so helpful about asking other people, is that you learn from the experience of others. And I love this verse in the Bible. I think it's in 2 Corinthians, that is like, the God of all comfort, who comforts you in all of your trouble so that you can comfort others. Mm-hmm. And I just love that I was comforted by the trials and tribulations and hard times and death of other people. Like, they were able to share their journey with me, which brought comfort.
Right.
It helped me feel not alone. It also gave me some great tips, like, you know, even the fact that I recorded podcasts with my mom came from several of you who told me, like, hey, during this time, record everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, just document.
Right.
And so the experience of others really helped me get through hard times, because I needed to learn from the path that they'd walked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My next thing kind of harkens back to my first thing, but like really having like honest conversations with that small handful of people about how I'm feeling, what I'm really going through, and just being very raw in that, I think is really one of the things that has helped me get through stuff. Is like, you and I have a great relationship anyway. I feel like we can always just be honest with each other, but having a handful of other people in my life that I can be equally honest with and not expect there to be judgment, I think is really really a good thing. And I think it's hard. For me, it's hard to just like fully open up. That's just not who I am as a person usually, but I think that it's really important to be able to have people that can just sit with you in it. And I think that's one of the things is like, I'm not really asking for advice necessarily. I think it's just like, can you just sit with me in it? Like if you can't help me get to the light, can you just sit with me in the dark? Because that's what I need right now.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is that in what we've experienced a lot of the last few years, there was no fixing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing people could do to make it better or to fix it other than simply being with.
Right. Yep. And giving me a place just to process, because I am, for the most part, an internal processor, but I think that there's always a point where I need to externally process, and I'm just processing. I'm not asking for advice. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm just saying I need you to sit there and listen to me verbally vomit.
Well, and verbally vomit in a really honest way. Like, can you sit with me when I say, like, you know what? I feel like God has really screwed me in this.
I feel like I'm not even sure that he exists right now.
Yeah, like
I need to be able to say that out loud.
And have people in your life who aren't going to be like, whoa, I need to step away from you.
Or throw more Bible verses at me.
That's exactly right. Be like, oh, he created you. He loves you. It's like, just, can you shut up?
Right. I don't need to hear that. I need you to just be like, I understand where you're coming from. Even if you don't, I just need you to sit there and just be like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're going through this.
Well, I think what you said is perfect. Like, we need people to sit with, like, if we can't be led to the light, sit with me in the darkness.
Yeah.
Like, just, can you sit with me? Can you be with me and not try to fix me?
Sit with me in my deep, dark, awful. Because that's where I'm at, and I don't need you to drag me out of it. I need you to sit with me in it until I can get back out of it.
Yeah. It's interesting because that kind of leads to my next thing. It's sort of very similar, which has helped me, has been community. And when I say community, I do mean those kind of people. I mean the kind of people that have showed up at our front door with meals and have basically just said, like, listen, I don't even want to come in. I'm just dropping this off and I hope it helps. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to do other than here. Like, here's a casserole.
Right.
You know, or people that have just, like, the text messages that have just been like, don't have words, just know that we love you.
Yep. Just thinking about you. That's all.
And the illustration that I've had for, like, community that does this is, I think of after a disaster, there are people who, like, run away from the rubble, or there's people who, like, run in. I mean, think about, like, 9/11. We just had 9/11.
Right.
Right? It's like, think of the rescue team that ran into the rubble, like, in the hope of, like, help.
Right.
When most everybody else was running away. And here's what has stood out to me in the last few years. It has been glaring, the kind of people that run in, or the kind of people who, when life gets hard, disappear.
They either run out, or we have had part of who we kind of really thought was like good community kind of stand on the edge and just be like, hey, let us know how we can help, but like that's not helpful. So
well, yeah, the reality is nobody's ever going to say, you know what, I could really use a meal tonight. Let's just show up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Just show up and do something. And so to me, I have been so helped by our rescue team.
Right.
And those are people here in Alaska. Those are people around the country.
Yep.
Who have said, like, with your situation and with Mom's situation, they have been so present. And sometimes, and I hear this a lot with work stuff, it's like, oh, I knew they were going through a hard time. I didn't want to
I didn't want to bother them. I didn't want to. I
Just
didn't want
so
to
you
be
know,
more of a burden.
That's bullshit.
Right.
That is like
I can't tell you how many times when I was so sick that we would get a text message from a friend saying, "Hey, I'll be there in 15 minutes at dinner."
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, I'm bringing you dinner tomorrow. Tell me what you want." Not like, "Hey, let us know how we can help," but
or
"This is what we're doing."
or not even having to do anything.
Right.
That was actually the thing that was the most helpful to me, was just simply friends who would just text and say, "Don't know what today's like, just know I'm thinking about you."
Right.
Like, you don't have to do anything.
Right.
Just don't be silent.
Don't be silent.
Because the reality is that when you're going through hard things, when your wife may be dying, or when your mom has cancer and things don't look good, the silence is so loud. And what you need is the voice of your rescue team who is running in and reminding you that, like, you're not alone and you have people who love you and who are, like, in the rubble with you.
Right.
That's what you need.
Yep.
Don't be silent.
Right.
There's enough silence that is, like, deafening. And I'm just so thankful. I mean, my God, I could list a whole list of people who have been our rescue team. But that's been the biggest thing.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Like, just real community.
Yep.
All right, Sherry, anything else for you? It's really helped you get through hard times, either for yourself or for others? Or pro tips you'd give to people?
Pro tips. I don't know. And I do think that it really just depends on the situation. It depends on the person. I don't know. Because, again, like, I've been through hard things. I went through a really hard thing the beginning of this year, and I retreated. Like, I didn't fight. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that that's okay in some situations, but I think that there's other situations where I'm just like, absolutely not. This is not going to beat me. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. I think it really just depends on the situation and the person, I think. And who you are as a person, because you and I approach hard things differently.
100%. Like, in the middle of hard things, one of the things that I've realized, and we've talked a lot about this with Mom's situation, is that I spend so much time caring for everyone else, caring for Mom, caring for you, trying to make sure that, like, all of Mom's medical stuff's taken care of and bills are taken care of and, like, groceries are ordered. And you know what I mean? Just, like, caring for the whole situation and everybody involved, to the neglect of myself.
Right.
And, like, that's one of the things that I have to be aware of going through hard times, is that I will do so at the detriment of myself.
Right.
Whereas you retreat and go away.
Also to the detriment of myself, because
that's what I mean.
It's not like I'm only taking care of myself. I'm not taking care of anybody.
No.
Like, I fully retreat.
Yep. Yeah. It's like there's a war going on and there's grenades being lobbed, and Sherry's just, like, fetal position in the foxhole. Just like,
right.
it's like, Sherry, get the gun and fight.
With my book.
With your book. That's exactly right. And so
Yeah.
The reality is, like, there's unhealth in the way that both of us respond.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we need is each other. Like, earlier this year, the thing you're talking about, you were talking about retreating to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There was a part of me that what I needed to do was, yes, be with you in the darkness, but also when it was time to be like, maybe we need to start moving a little. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to be pulled out a little bit.
Right, yeah.
And you needed to tell me, like, hey, go to Roswell, New Mexico and do stupid alien stuff by yourself, because, like,
you need to take care of you.
You need to take care of you.
Yep.
Like, go.
You need to do something that will feed you, that doesn't involve helping other people.
Totally. I'd say the last thing for me that's really helped is, and I think this is my natural personality, because I tend to be an optimist with stuff, which has actually really helped me. And that is, every day, no matter how shitty the situation is, looking for small positives. Like, I remember distinctly doing that when you were so sick and we didn't know what it looked like. Just thinking back to being, some days it was like, you know what? I don't know that we have a future together, but man, look at, like, these memories that we have. Look at this photo album of our Ireland trip. Look at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or even the fact that it's like, well, Sherry's skin doesn't look worse today.
Right.
You know, like, I mean,
it's not better, but it's not worse.
It's not better, but it's not worse. It's like, look for little things that are positive, because when you're in the hard things, it is so easy to only see negative.
Yeah.
Only see the worst. Only see those kind of things. And you have to intentionally look for positive things, even so seemingly small and stupid.
Well, and Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that it really is just like silly things that maybe aren't actually positive, but like it's more positive than something else. Like I'm trying to so like when I was super sick, it was like I slept for 20 whole minutes just now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
instead of, 3. Like it was an improvement to sleep for 20 minutes. And so it was just like, let's look for these little things that are better than.
Well, yeah, I remember when I was in Colorado Springs, Mom was in the hospital and didn't think that she was going to make it. This was my very first trip down there, and I was sitting outside of the hospital. I think my brother might have been in the hospital room with Mom, or maybe he was somewhere else. And I was sitting outside. I had like walked to a coffee shop, and the weather was so nice and sunny and beautiful. And I looked at the weather on my phone, and it was like 56 and rainy in Anchorage. And I remember intentionally thinking, like, today I get the sunshine. Like, I specifically remember that today I get the sunshine. Mm-hmm. My mom, as far as I knew, was dying in a hospital room.
Mm-hmm. Like, but you were getting some sunshine.
But at least today I was getting some sunshine. Right. And in that moment, I needed to look for something because I could have sat there and freaked out about how horrible the situation was.
Yeah.
But you will kill yourself doing that. You have got to look for these small sparks, these like small silver linings, whatever it is, every single day. Intentionally look for something that is at least a positive. And for me, it's like
thankful for.
That's right.
Yep.
For me that day, sunshine.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I'm thinking back to the last few years, and I feel like what we have learned over the last season will help us for the rest of our life.
I think so too, and I think that it's also, I think that it has strengthened our relationship, like yours and mine, and then I think it's also strengthened like those people that have run into the rubble. I think that we, some of them were unexpected. I think that there are people that we didn't realize we were as close to as we are.
Oh.
And I don't know. I just feel like those are the kinds of people who will be in our life forever because of what we have been through together.
Yeah, they're part of the rescue team.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing is, you're exactly right. There are people that I expected to be part of our rescue team that weren't.
Yeah.
And that's sad. Like, there's loss in that. And then there are people that weren't even on the radar and frickin' blew in and saved the day.
Yeah.
And that's just so amazing. And here's the shitty thing. Life doesn't necessarily get easier.
Right.
Like, I wish that I could say, you know what, you guys? We've gone through our hard season. Check, here's what we've learned to help you in yours. We're going to go live peacefully on a beach forever and never deal with hardship again.
I mean, but can we?
No. But that's the thing is that, like, no.
I know.
Like, literally, you can't.
I know.
We are going to have more people, more parents, more grandparents, more close friends die, get divorced, like, have horrible things happen to them. Life continues to get hard with sickness and death, and everything around us is dying.
Right.
And so the question for us is, how in the world do we live in a world that everything is dying in a way that is healthy?
Yeah.
And I think that these are some of the steps.
Some of them, yeah.
There's a lot of other things that we've learned. I mean, just things like, even the importance of rest and renewal. Yep. In those seasons that have been huge for us.
And giving yourself the space and the time to heal from these hard things. I think that that's something that, I don't know if it's strictly an American thing, but it's probably a global thing, but I feel like we are really bad about going through a traumatic experience and giving ourselves the space and the time to heal from that. Like, I just feel like now there's almost this mentality like, well, you're not going through it anymore, buck up. You know what I mean? Like, get over it, move on, get on with your life.
Life is hard. We all go through hard things. Get over it.
Right. And I don't know. And I just feel like not necessarily, I don't think that was like a conscious thought for us, but I think that it was like, I think that there was a big space where it's just like, okay, the trauma is over. Okay, next, like move on. What's the next thing? And not necessarily like what's the next bad thing, but like just move on with life. And I think that giving yourself the space to heal from whatever that trauma was is very important as well.
Mm-hmm. And to not compare your healing and your journey to somebody else's.
Absolutely.
Because just because somebody else did this when they lost a parent, or just because somebody else did this when like they went through something hard, doesn't mean that's what you will.
Right.
And the other thing I think, now that we're talking about this topic, I have all of these things like flooding back in from the last few years. And one of them that just like stood out to me, and it's weird because I hadn't thought about this. I think intentionally, I've tried to block it out, is the importance of not listening to like negative voices in that season. Mm. So when you were sick, and you never really read any of the LeggLife Instagram messages, like the DMs, occasionally, but almost never.
Almost never, just because I am extremely sensitive.
So when you were sick, I got attacked a ton because, we shared a lot of that journey with the internet, with you being sick. Now, Here's the thing. You guys only got to see, I don't know if you know this, you got to see a small fraction of what we're going through.
You got to see like 2% of what we actually were going through.
And we didn't tell you about things that were being done, other things we were trying, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I had so many people, if you would have read the Instagram messages during that season, you would have thought that I was trying to kill you.
Oh, God.
Like that I was a horrible person and I wasn't getting you the help you needed and I should be doing this and you need to be taking her here and she needs this. Why aren't you doing that? You need to do this. Like it was almost daily. Ugh. The messages on what I was doing wrong. And here's the thing is that when you go through hard things, there is no right to how you do that kind of stuff. Right. I had never been through that process before. You had never been through that process before.
And I feel like between the two of us, we were doing everything that we could.
I thought so too. Other people didn't. But that's my point.
But they also weren't within our walls.
Well, that's what I mean. And they also weren't within, like, one of the things that I tell to a lot of people who are starting YouTube channels, I know the Zachmans have kind of taken a hold of this, is that don't listen to criticism from people you wouldn't go to for advice.
Right.
So, like, if somebody is not someone that is proven to have your best interest in mind, don't listen to their criticism.
Their criticism is absolute bullshit, and you don't need to listen to it.
Well, it's pointless. But here's the thing. Even if it's not bullshit, you don't have to listen to it.
Right.
Because, like, and I'll use the Zachmans as an example. If Justin and Lacey saw us doing something with our life that was wrong, that was not true to our values, that was like detrimental to us, they love us enough that they would come to us and tell us the truth. And you know what? They have earned the right for us to listen to them.
I was just going to say, they have earned that right. Like, yep. We have that kind of relationship with them.
Yep.
That they can come to us and say, oh, guys, this isn't great.
Because I would go to them for advice, I will listen to their criticism.
Yep.
And when you go through hard things, there will be a lot of criticism. There could be. There's not always, but there could be. And just remember to not listen to all of the dissenting voices when you're going through hard times.
Right.
Like, do the next right thing. Do the thing that you think is in your best interest or the best interest of the loved ones that you're dealing with. But just, like, dodge the flying crap. Because there could be a lot of it.
Yeah, and I do remember you kind of talking vaguely about some of those things. And again, like, the internet was not within our walls. They had no idea what I was actually going through. Mm-hmm. I think even after we posted the video, there's still so much that we didn't include.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
There's so much that we didn't include about the things that we were going through. And we had so many conversations between the two of us that nobody else was privy to. Mm-hmm. Our cat, maybe.
Sure,
but, like, literally nobody else was part of these conversations. And so how dare they think that they can speak into our life, into our marriage, when they're not there for it?
Yeah, and I think we're getting off topic a little bit. But I think that the reality is that there's some belief out there that if you share your life online, that people think that they get to see all of it, when the reality is like you see the smallest edited percentage.
Right. And I think that that's true in any kind of, I'm going to bring it back into any kind of hard thing. And I think that if you're going through a really hard time, there's so much that people outside of your very small circle that you're maybe very honest with, nobody else knows what you're going through.
Yeah.
And they don't get to speak into that unless they've earned that right to.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you want to talk about trains?
I work with trains and I look at trains all day long.
That's true. You would be a train expert. Maybe we should do a train episode recorded on a princess train.
Oh.
Ooh.
Or just from my office.
Or from your office. That's true. Or just from your office.
I get to look at trains all day.
So I want to thank, I don't remember the person who suggested this topic. I want to thank you, though, because here's the thing. I feel like this is one of those topics that every single person in the world is going to go through hard things.
Yeah, and again, like, everybody's going to go through it differently, and it's going to be a different situation. It's going to be, different methods of going through it, yep. And these are just our 2 cents.
So I think figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Figure out what works for your personality, what works for your situation of loss or hardship, and do what you believe is the right thing.
Yeah.
But these are the things that have worked well for us.
Yeah.
What a weird few years.
What a weird few years. I'm really ready for it to just be done. I feel like that's probably a false hope, but because we do live in a fallen world.
Yeah, I do think it's a false hope. And I don't necessarily feel like it's the kind of thing that's like, oh, hard things in loss get easier the more you go through with them. I don't necessarily believe that that's true.
Right.
But I think that what happens is that you learn things that help the process.
Yeah.
It's like...
So it doesn't make it any easier. You just have better methods for coping.
The next time we hear the word cancer in a close loved one, we will have more tools in our tool belt when it comes to how to respond.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, that's kind of what part of life is. You just, as you go through it, you add more things to your tool belt, and these are just some of the ones that have helped us.
Yeah.
So friends, want to know from you, go over to LeggLife on podcast, search the LeggLife podcast. Oh, on YouTube. That was weird. Go over to YouTube, search the LeggLife podcast, find this Going Through Hard Times episode, mm-hmm. and I want you to leave us a comment over there. What are some things that have worked for you?
Yeah.
Because these are our things. What are your things? Because I would love to be able to learn additional things that might help us next time.
Right. Yep.
So let us know when going through either hard things for yourself or with the ones that you love. What are some things that work for you? And friends, we love you so much. Thanks for listening to...
Episode 92.
Gosh.
Look at us go.
I'm so proud of us. On the tracks to 100. Next episode, all about trains, you guys.
Dear God.
No, not about trains? All right. Actually, the next episode, we don't do this very often. We don't plug the next episode.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the next one.
I am too.
Because the next one actually...
is going to air...
on a pretty important date.
On our 18th anniversary.
Yep, on our anniversary. And so we thought, you know what? It would only make sense to do an episode about love.
About love.
But here's the thing. It's not really a very lovey episode.
No, not necessarily. So it will be talking about love.
Do we think true love exists? Do we think love at first sight exists? Spoiler alert for me, no to both of those.
Do we think that unconditional love is a thing?
Do we think that there is only one person out there, your soulmate, your...
OTP.
Your what?
It's one true pairing.
Okay. And so we're going to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What are our thoughts on those things about love?
Yeah.
So next Saturday on the LeggLife podcast, you can now listen to us on, I believe it's Amazon Music.
Oh.
We're now on.
Okay.
Which is cool. So Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and wherever else podcasts are listened to. You guys, we love you so much. We'll see you on the next LeggLife podcast. Mm-hmm. Bye. Bye.